Okay, in this quick demo, I'm going to show you how to get action items that are recorded in Fireflies, the AI meeting note taker, how to get those action items into a task management system or a to-do list that you like. In my case, I use TickTick, which you can see here at the end, but this principle will work for any task management system. What's unique is we're using Fireflies to record meetings, but the way that Fireflies gives you the action items is in an HTML format that is not easy to put into a task manager, which needs individual items. So I'm going to show you how to get from what Fireflies gives you to what you need for TickTick. And as you can see, that includes 4 custom steps in Zapier. So let's start at the beginning. We're going to set up our Fireflies connection. When a new meeting is recorded, it's going to activate, and then of course make sure you connect it to your Fireflies account right here. As far as the configuration, I'm using the standard configuration, not anything you need to change here. And then you can run a test. I've already pulled a record, so you can see this is what it pulls in. And as I've explained, the action items come back as this section right here, which is actually a bunch of HTML, so it's not really compatible with most task management systems. From here, we're going to continue to code by Zapier. Now, this is the most important portion of this Zap. You are going to use code by Zapier as the app, so it's going to be available from here. You can also look for the utilities right there, code, pick that one. And we're going to run Python. You could also do this in JavaScript, but I'm going to show you how to use Python to do it. Now, in the configuration, there's a bunch of code. This code you're going to find in the comments alongside this video, as well as in the blog post. So you can basically just copy and paste that piece of Python code. And what you need to do is you need to set the input data to items. And then you need to select here the action items from Firefly. So it's that one right there. That's what you're going to bring in. It's important that you put this as items in lowercase because that is referenced right here. This is how it talks to the input that you give it and knows where to start working with that input. If you change this text to something else, you're also going to have to change this code, which you're welcome to do. But if you just want it to work as is, make sure you enter exactly items in lowercase right here. Pick action items from Fireflies right there. And then use exactly the Python code that I've given you. Once you continue with this, you're going to see a test case. And so now you can see that it has in fact broken out individual items of tasks. So that's something we're going to be able to work with. The next step we need to do is use a loop by Zapier. Now this is because you may get multiple action items out of a meeting, and each of these action items needs to be individually stored in your task management system, and that requires a loop. Again, the loop is something that is a utility from Zapier, so you're going to be able to find it in this section, or the easiest way is always to just look for it looping right there. And then the action that we're going to choose is create a loop from line items. As far as the configuration, you're going to have to fill this in, but we're going to need 2 things that we're going to use further on when we create tasks. One is the owner, one is the task. You can name this whatever you want, but sensible way to name it, I thought, was to call it owner and task. Now, the owner, the value that we're going to give that comes from step number 2, which was in the Python code. You can look through this, and it's called items owner. So you click on that here. And the one that's associated with task, of course, also came from step number 2, your Python code, and that's the task that you see right here. You can trim the white space, and you can also set a limit on how many loop iterations to do. That's just a safeguard. In my case, I don't think we ever have meetings with more than 50 action items. So that is the upper bound that I set here. Now we can continue, and you can see that there's going to be different loops happening. And these are all the action items that come out of it. So this would have been 15 individual loops. Okay, now, as you probably noticed along the way, not every action item is an action item for myself, so I need to do some filtering. Again, this is a pre-built action from Zapier. So you can just go ahead and look for filter. That's the one you're going to choose. And then the configuration is I want to do a filter where the owner in the loop, so the owner right here, that text needs to match exactly, and then I fill in my name. So make sure this is a match to whatever the value is that you see right here. Simple filter. You can continue with that. The test says, yes, we found a record that matches it, so that is going to continue to the next step. Now, the next step is the formatter by Zapier. And the reason I need this is because I want to set a due date for my action items, but there is no due date in Fireflies. So I'm going to construct a due date as being 1 week from the day of the meeting. That's just a choice I made. You can choose whatever values you want there. But to do that, you need to be able to format the date. So once again, how you find this is you just look for formatter. Right there, it's a Zapier app. And we're going to act on date and time. As far as the configuration, we're going to start with the time of the meeting. So that came from step number 1, the date of the Fireflies meeting. That is your input. And then how do I want to manipulate this? You can type in whatever you want, but I typed in plus 1 week, which means it's going to be 1 week from, in this case, August 19th. And you can choose what return format. I happen to have chosen this one. The systems tend to be fairly flexible, but this one works with TickTick. And you continue, and we get a test. And so as you saw, the meeting was on August 18th. So 7 days from that is August 25th. So that is a correct calculation of the date. And then the final step, this is where you connect your task management system. I've chosen TickTick, but you could use any system you want where you maintain all of your tasks and to-do lists. The action is going to depend. In TickTick is called add task. It may be called different in your system. But so we add a task, choose the account, and then we do a configuration. And so this again is going to be different for the to-do list system that you have, but most of them will have something like the task name, the task content, start date, potentially owner. And this is where I've chosen as the task. It is what came back from my loop. It is the individual task. And then for task content, I put in some additional Firefly details to help me refer back to more details in case I don't remember what that specific task was referring to. So this is all just referring back to the Fireflies data. The start date of that task, or when it's created, is basically the date of the Fireflies meeting. And for the due date, this is where I'm choosing my date in the future that I've generated. So this future date. And then you continue and you do a test with that. And so then you'll get a confirmation that this is working. And at this point you can publish it. And now Zapier will automatically take new meetings from Fireflies and make sure each action item gets split out. Any action item that has your name as the owner is going to be added to your task management system of choice.